Hi, it's Roderick Givens here with SAS Absolutes and Superlatives, and we're going to address something in the relationship section that comes up, and that is assigning motivation and intent from another person. And I wanted to go through this example. It's not TikTok simple, so please bear with me, but I think this is something that comes up in our lives on a pretty regular basis, especially when you're talking about conflict. We as people, and in saying absolutes and superlatives, we address one of the pillars is decisions are made for multiple reasons. We call it multiple factors, right? And again, I'm a little bit of a math nerd, but we assign why we do different things, and we do it for different reasons. Now, me, I could probably go through 4 or 5 reasons why I do things, and I can probably assign it to, I don't know, a certain percentage of why I did something, at least from my perspective, okay? But to make the math simple, right, and to give you an example, I would say, let's ask a very easy, it's benign, it's just really easy. How did I choose the college I graduated from? And that's Eastern Washington University, okay? And if you ask people why they chose the college, and believe me, this is very important for people who are recruiting for colleges, right? I could probably break it down into a high motivation or attention, a medium, and a low. I could say high. What's the number one reason for how I chose my college? It's cost, okay? In my situation, and I can expand on that later. I would say a medium reason is that I knew some people that I attended high school with that attended Eastern Washington University, okay? That's a medium. And then low could be something as simple as like the weather, okay? I'm just throwing that as examples. High, medium, low. That's a really simple example on why I attended Eastern Washington University. Now, that makes sense if you're just kind of asking me that question. In a situation where you're in a conversation that's a point of contention, let's reverse it and said, why didn't I attend the University of Washington, okay? And let's say we're going through some heated discussions. What's a challenge and could really be a source that's it could be received incorrectly, is when someone takes a reason that is not expressed by the person that they're dealing with and move that to the top. And typically that is comes across as the statement, you're doing this just because, okay? You're doing this just because. And let's go back to the reasons of why I attended Eastern Washington University and reverse it to why I didn't attend the University of Washington, right? That's the question. The reason why I didn't attend the University of Washington was it cost. And if I said cost, I would say that's one of the reasons, cost, right? Although I was in state, but let's just use that example. And let's say I use the same reasons. Cost, I knew people, and weather, okay? And then in a conflict, right, and I'm having a conversation, someone asks me and I give those 3 reasons. If they come back and tell me, no, the reason why you did it because you didn't want to be close to your family, or something like I grew up in the Seattle area, but let's say I wanted to move away from my family or something like that, right? And you did that just because you wanted to be away from your family. The reason why that could be a source of conflict is because the way that's received, if I give my reasons and someone tells me, and again, we're assuming we're on good terms, I'm a normal person, there's 3 ways that could be received by the person who is told their motivation or intentions are not correct. The first is that, lack of a better term, you're a liar, right? That could obviously, create conflict. The second is I don't know the reason, okay? Now, let me stop here and say that, again, back to the idea of math, we can assign probabilities and, things of that nature, but just in general, high, medium, low. Or the third reason is, and I'm using 3. 1 is, I'm not telling the truth. 2 is that I don't know. And the third is that the person is intentionally taking what their reason that supports their narrative and moving that to the top. And that does a couple things. First, it takes something that may be true. And typically this is where it kind of gets interesting, because it may be true at some level, right? maybe like a 5% reason, or just something that if you think about it, yeah, that could be true. Not, not something that you think about actively, but it could be true. But the second thing is when you move it to the top and then say you're doing this just because, what you're doing is you're discounting and eliminating all the things that are said before that. Okay? And that becomes very, very, it could become a source of conflict. I mean, it can be received a lot of different ways by the person who's giving reasons for, their actions. Again, it could be received as you're not telling the truth, you don't know, or the person who's telling you that, your reasons or motivations aren't correct. It is basically just trumping and say, no, I know the reason and it supports my narrative, and it really just kind of discounts whatever the reason that the person gave. And I see this happening in a lot of conversations, and maybe it's not received to that degree, but it has come up in conversations and with family and friends. So be careful. I'm just saying, be careful. And I'm using these three. I think that these are valid, but I'm also open to conversations and discussions on other reasons, right? On how that's received by the person in a conversation. So just be careful when you're, saying just because it could come across as those three reasons, and obviously that will continue the disconnect between two people in a conversation of contention, or they're making trying to make a point. So hopefully that makes sense. Roderick Givens with saying absolutes and superlatives. We're bringing up not what we're supposed to do, but what is actually happening out there in our family unit and in our community.